Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Crimson Fire. Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we will be taking a look at some of the best runes that I have on my account, some runes that I thought would be good that didn't turn out so good, and just some other stuff too about runes. Really, I want to help people understand the transition from middle game to late game. I mean, I've done multiple videos on what I think, early, middle, late game is, and then end game at the end of the game. But basically, in short, I think late game is when you have all of your PvE teams done. So you've got a fast Giants team, Dragons, Necropolis, Fortress, Punishers, Crypt, whatever, all that stuff. All of that's done. You've got BJR5 built, or solo R5 if you want. I never thought of solo R5 as being something that was really that relevant, to be honest, because BJR5 is just simply faster. It's not that hard to find two people if you go to channel 65 for BJR5 too, to get a good team together for that and do a bunch of runs. So anyway, moving into the late game, in terms of my definition, is you really need to start not using runes that have 3 substats or more. You should never have a rune with 4 substats on it that are not grindable. I have an example of that to share first. I was hoping this would turn out differently because of the way that it rolled. So I got this originally as a hero rune, and I'm like, okay, if it gets max crit rate or crit damage, it could be really good. It got 2% off of max crit damage, so it's like, okay, this is actually pretty good then. And what I needed it to roll here was either speed or HP percentage, really. And then I could take the resistance off and put on speed or HP percentage, whatever was left. But even a high amount of flat HP or high flat attack or something even would have been better than this, because it's simply not grindable. And then you have 4 substats that are just not grindable. So I'm going to sell this eventually, But it's unfortunate, because you can get stuff like this that actually could be good, that has 3 non-grindable substats, and then this happens at the end. But for the most part, you probably shouldn't be rolling that stuff up anyway, because it's just, stuff like that happens. And then you end up with runes like this too, where it's 3 stats that are not grindable, and then you get a bunch of rolls into the only grindable stat there, and they're not bad rolls. I mean, 32% is max, so 4% off max for, it's not that bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, a 7% average is pretty good. But then you end up with stuff like this, and it's like you have to take the crit rate off realistically, because the crit damage is max, the crit rate isn't. It's going to have to be speed, and then it's just kind of unfortunate. If it had rolled max crit rate or max crit damage or some into both, and I could take accuracy off, and then grind up speed and attack percentage and blah 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 and so on, then that'd be great. But that's just not how the rune rolled, and it was legend to begin with too. So stuff like that, you're probably just going to want to steer clear of, because you're going to end up with stuff like this, and it is probably just going to ruin your day. And also it has an innate value that is grindable that you obviously can't grind because it's in the innate stat. So you end up with stuff like that, and that's kind of unfortunate. On the other side of the fence, I'm going to show some crit damage runes now as well, because you end up with stuff like this where it's just straight grindable stats. And on something like a slot 2, 4, and 6, you really want stuff that is one stat that is not grindable on every rune. Really, you want a stat that's not grindable that is as high as possible. So, but this is an example of crit damage where you just have straight grindable stats, and it's like you're kind of missing out on maybe some crit rate here, 12% crit rate, if you could have gotten a roll into that or whatever. And I really strongly recommend putting crit rate on the substats for crit damage runes. So with that being said, we will go into the management system here and just take a look at all of these little different crit damage pieces I have, and just some runes that I'm not even actually using. Okay, so crit rate, and then I have stuff like this on, and then I have a rune sitting right here. That's Blade. That's just flat out better. So this one has crit rate here. This one has 16% crit rate, so a full extra roll higher. This rune has higher attack percentage. This rune has just about the same HP percentage, but realistically, with a rune like this, you'd like to take the HP percentage off and go for 14 or 15 speed there. because this is just not going to move. I think it was accuracy up here. but it's still great. You know, 2 rolls into this, good roll here. This was a 10% gem there, so speed there, and it's really very, very solid. So some stuff like that. This one, it rolled fantastic. It has the potential to just be higher. I mean, I can just flat out get a higher speed roll on here. It's for the Bailigr, so I don't want to mess with the speed. But, you know, a rune like this could potentially be a lot higher. And then you could even take the crit rate off and do defense percentage. And then this might actually be a good place to have something where it's like, okay, you know, I've got all 4 stats are grindable, but it turned out pretty well, because this could be 18% here. This could be 35% here, which is a massive attack. You know, this could be this straight up. I mean, never mind. You can't grind off the crit rate because you've got this now, but this could be 14, 15 speed here, and then this is a massive roll here where you don't have a whole lot of crit rate, but the other stats make up for it. Yeah, there's some other stuff too. I think I needed to look at the Wind Homunculus. I wanted to show you guys a lot of his runes, because back when I built him, I said these were the best runes on my account. Now, I'll show you the worst one on him first. This is by far the worst rune sitting on my Wind Homunculus right now. It didn't roll well into crit rate. It got a middle resistance roll. It's got some defense percentage here and this stuff, but you could still get this up to 17% defense. You can still grind on attack percentage here and get 23% there. But realistically, it's better to just save those kinds of grinds for stuff that rolls better. You know, stuff that has 17%, 18% crit rate. Even if it is resistance, it's more like 15, 16, just getting extra percentages on there, and then throwing on great grinds and gems. And it's just a lot more valuable. You know, the difference between good and great in this game is literally a percentage. Like, that's the difference between endgame players too. That's the difference between, you know, G2 and G3, like 3%. Like, there's no, I mean, it's just there's a little bit of LD5 stuff in there too, okay, but you know, it's that competitive up there. It's percentages that are, you know, pushing these people apart. But then I have other great stuff on here too. You know, this rune rolled pretty well. It was a legend rune, so it's 1% off max crit damage there, and then it was 2 off max speed. So this is all very good. I could take the crit rate off and put attack percentage on, potentially for 23% attack. I wouldn't take this off because you can roll 450 about, I think, with a legend. I think it's 450 is the max, and then this is sitting at, it would be then be sitting at 800 extra HP, which is nice. Obviously, it's not as good as just having like 10% HP or something, but yeah. But just getting this off is what I would do, and putting attack percentage on, and keeping these stats, you know, the grindable stats on there, and it has an innate resistance there too, which is fantastic. This was an amazing hero rune, basically turned into a legendary, or I'm going to turn it into a legendary when I can get an attack percentage one here. Because if you look at this, if you throw on 23% attack here, which this rune is definitely worth it, you can get 18% defense here, you can get 23% attack here, and then you could get 23 speed here. I mean, that's so many stats on this attack percent rune. It'll be great for an attacker. Literally, I would always have a use for this rune. It would never come off. Saying that, it's kind of funny that I have this rune sitting here, because this thing is very, very good. But I have other good runes just sitting around too that were leveled up. You've got stuff like this where it's got, you know, 17% crit rate. It's 1 off max. It's got great attack here, HP. I could roll speed on, but even like this, just grinding these stats up, it's still a bunch of crit rate. It's a bunch of damage, but I just some of this stuff I just have sitting around because I didn't know exactly what to do with it. Now, this is a good constructive moment for everyone watching. The only thing that you should be putting right here is speed. That is the only thing that should be going here. I don't know what was on here before, why I put crit damage. I don't know why I did that, but there's a grindable stat here, there's a grindable stat here, and the attack percentage is the other percentage main stat that's grindable. So the only one left is speed. So if you can get a bunch of speed on here, that's great, but it's still a low roll of crit rate. It's still only 1 roll of accuracy. It's only going to sit there. You know, it's never gonna get better as accuracy. So something like this is really a middle game rune. It doesn't have a high potential. because you're missing this. If you could switch the crit damage and HP, but again, that's just not how the rune rolled. You have to be realistic about the way that your stuff rolls. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff there. There were a couple of runes I wanted to show in particular. Stuff like this is always lovely. It could be 29 speed if I max out the grind. It's got stats here that can be grinded up higher. It's got this here I could put attack percentage on. I guess it wouldn't make a ton of sense to do that, but it's at least extra something for Bernard. But it was an accuracy rune, and I rolled it up anyway just to see what would happen, and I got max speed rolls, so it's amazing for anything that's boosting turn meter at that point. So stuff like that is the kind of stuff that late game players take chances on. It's like, well, you could get max speed, and then when you do, it's like, okay, it's great, throw it on something that you need to go fast. There was another rune in here that I got just after I had recorded a video, and it's competing for the best rune on my account. So there's two runes I'm going to show now. This is the first one. 7% resistance, 28% crit rate, and then the rest of the stats: 7 crit damage, 8% HP, and the flat defense. Now in a situation like this, yeah, you can keep the grindable stat, but it's 28% crit rate, and it's crit damage here, and it's on vampire. It is a maxed crit damage roll. Just get rid of the flat defense percentage. It is way more valuable to keep this than it is to roll this up to, I think the max you can get is 30, 42 flat defense. Like, just take the damage. It's on vampire, or any rune set. I mean, any rune set that has 28% crit rate on it. This is disgusting. This is the highest. This is the best quad roll I've ever had before. This is a beautiful rune right here for the vampire set. So yeah, you definitely want to put speed here. Attack percentage is kind of the other thought, but you need speed on vampire. You need them getting turns and healing themselves up, and you need speed anyway, because speed is kind of the key of the game. So that's a really good rune there. But the other rune in here is a violent slot 2 speed rune. This thing is gross. When you look at it, if you aren't registering in your head right away, I don't understand why this is a gross rune. Just take another look at it. Like, actually think about why this is so disgusting looking. It doesn't have an innate, obviously, but they're all maxed. Other than 1%, I missed 1% on resistance, but it was a maxed 8 roll into HP, a maxed 8 roll into defense percentage, maxed resistance. It's literally a perfect supporting piece. I can take this off and I can put attack percentage on, and it could be amazing for something like a Fran. It could be amazing for a lot of things anyway. And you might as well take the accuracy off and just get a bunch of attack percentage, because in theory you could get 23% attack, 26% HP, and 26% defense. And it's just so much stat value. It's got a good amount of resistance there too. It's on speed. It's like, I think this is the best rune that I've ever had. I mean, 1% off max for me, because this is going to get grinded off anyway. But yeah, anyway, you guys tell me what you think. If you think you'd rather have the vampire rune or the violent rune here. But yeah, anyway, that's all for today, guys. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.